give him a hand. That was a long chapter. I appreciate ya. Yeah, I just want to start out with a confession. Like a really bad parent, I totally forgot our birthday. All right, it was a few weeks ago. I told Ian to make the joke, but he's so nice. He doesn't want to make that joke. All right, but I totally forgot. We're starting a new series, A Good God in a Broken World. Have you ever wondered how we got here? Have you ever wondered how we got here and why life can feel so fractured? I'm not talking about in Lisle, Illinois, the physical space that we're in, but in this world, in this life. Have you ever wondered how we got here? Hey, today we're going to start rewinding one of the most well-known stories in history, Genesis 1, but it's not going to be a simplified or sanitized version, but we're going to be stepping into the early pages of Genesis in the next few weeks as it actually unfolds, as Ian mentioned, gritty, messy, but also hopefully full of hope that points us back to Jesus. All right? Let me ask this question first. How many of you grew up, if you even know what this means, young earth? Young earth. Young earth? Young earth. How many of you grew up old earth? Old earth? How many of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about? Yep, thank you. That's what I thought. How many of you had, this is my favorite, had a Sunday school teacher who was like, dinosaurs? Easy. Noah took the baby ones, all right? Don't worry about it, okay? Okay, you don't think that's funny. All right, well, hey, this morning, I was like, man, that joke is going to be good, but it didn't work. This morning, my intent is not to investigate, take a look on the screen, how and when God created, instead, who created and why. Take a minute. This morning, my intent is not to investigate how and when God created, instead, who created and why. So not like, were there 24-hour days? What does the Bible have to say about macro or micro evolution? But instead, this morning, I want to investigate who created and why, and the one who said, let there be light. Said differently, I want to talk about why does Genesis tell us, what does it tell us? Why does the earth even exist to begin with? Why did God make humanity to begin with? Now, if you got questions about dinosaurs, how the flood works, let me just say this. I really love Mediterranean food, especially if it's free. And I've done my own investigation on it, and I would love to share with you about that. But that is not the intent for this morning, all right? So here is my just big idea for the morning. If you take a look on the slide, it is that a good God, Genesis 1, shows us that a good God intentionally created a good world to show you how much he loves you. That's my big idea for this morning. A good God intentionally created a good world to show you how much he loves you. Hey, now as we, if you turn to Genesis chapter 1, as we begin to engage with the foreign text, and I use that term very specifically, the foreign text of Genesis, let me start by saying this, and just giving you a short illustration, is that I love not only free food, but I love sushi, all right? And I thought, before I ever went to Japan, I thought I was actually pretty well versed on sushi. Not an expert, but at least I can tell the difference between spicy tuna and a California roll. But then I got to Japan, and I realized I didn't even know how to pronounce the country correctly. Okay, I wasn't even saying Japan right. But that's when it hit me. When you and I are stepping into someone else's home or sitting down at a sushi restaurant, there are what we call protocols, right? You shouldn't walk in Japan to a sushi restaurant, open the door, and be like, yo, I'm here. That's probably not proper protocol. You definitely shouldn't unroll a sushi roll in front of the chef and say, this is deconstructed now, okay? That's impolite. You don't also grab the soy sauce. I know some of you guys are like, you grab the soy sauce and you just drench that roll. That's improper. That is not proper protocol. And the chef will maybe say something to you, but they're so nice. Japanese people are so nice. Maybe they won't. But you're supposed to lightly dip it, just the edge, finding the perfect balance between soy sauce, rice, and fish. Why? Because you're not the chef. It's not your culture, but I am being invited into their culture, their protocol. Said simply, we're guests there. We're stepping into something that already exists. And I want to approach Genesis the same way. All right, catch it. You ready? Meaning to see that you and I, we are foreign visitors to the text. We're not the owners, we're not the chefs, nor are we the initial recipients of Genesis and its time. Therefore, catch it. There are ways of readings, patterns, purposes already in place long before you and I showed up with our modern questions. There are interpretive protocols, narratives that should be honored and utilized. Let me just say it plainly like this, and then we'll move on. When we walk into Genesis, sometimes we walk into it like it's our theological kitchen instead of God's. And so we need to consider, instead of getting bogged down with the precise sequence of molecular development between chapter 1 and chapter 2, let's not miss the meta-biblical themes that Genesis 1 offers to us. All right? Now, some of you are sitting here and going, and I know you are because I know you well enough, you're like, dude, I didn't come to church this morning to have a creation debate, all right? I got bills to pay, okay? I got kids who I'm trying to keep alive. Why does Genesis 1 and creation even matter to me? And you're like, I'm tired. I feel you, okay? I'm tired too, okay? I feel you, my friend. But whether you've thought about it or not, I want you to think about this. Your understanding of why you're here on this earth, this planet, and where all of this in creation, where it came from, is already shaping the way that you live your life. What I mean is, because how you answer, where did this all come from and why am I here, inevitably shapes how you answer the question of what matters. How should I live? It shapes the way you answer the question, does your life, your singular life, out of billions of people over history of time, actually matter? I suggest to you that Genesis 1 actually answers that question for us. To help us just think through this a bit more deeply, would you consider this following pattern of thought to see how your why impacts your what? This is called Why Does Origin Matter? If you take a look here, all right, I just have 3 different sets of worldviews. Obviously, there's a lot more. One is nihilism. One is called the Enuma Elish, which is a Babylonian, secular, at that time, thought process of how they saw the world. Okay? And then we have biblical creation. If you think about nihilism, and I recognize that these are general statements, all right? But I'm trying to be faithful to the general meaning. In nihilism, the main idea is that the universe has no meaning, no inherent meaning or purpose. And that, though, produces a what of how we live. Here are some positive thoughts. Freedom to create one's own meaning. Since there is no meaning, you have to curate it. Responsibility for one's choices. That's good. The negative outcome might be, since the universe has no inherent meaning, it is filled with despair, apathy, hedonism, or nothing matters or anything goes. The why of how you think this world was created and why we're here creates a what of how you live your life. Enuma Elish, the Babylonian thought at that time, which is conflicting to the creation text in Genesis 1, would say that the main idea is that the world emerged from divine conflict and violence. I love you so much that I read that thing this week, all right? And it's a hard read, I'll tell you what, okay? But the whole idea is that there's divine gods, lowercase g's, around, and they fought in cosmic battle, which emerges the world that we live in today. All right, the positive outcome of such a thought is realism about conflict, recognition that life is hard, though. The negative outcome is that it normalizes violence, there's hierarchy, there's domination as the way things are. And if you actually go back and read through history, Babylonian history, what you see is that there's a lot of subjugation and domination because it's coming out of this philosophy or thought. You tracking? Yeah? All right. Biblical creation, a good God intentionally creates a good world, as we see in Genesis chapter 1, which I'm going to suggest to you, to show us that he loves us. What are the positive outcomes? There's gratitude. Wait, God made this world that we see because he loves me and he cares about me? There's wonder. I wonder why he did that. We'll get to it. I wonder why there's texture. There's color. There's sounds, there's taste. You know, he could have created a world that was just concrete blocks. And every 5 hours, a tablet comes out, and that's your food. He didn't create it that way, though. Moral grounding, if there's a God, meaning and purpose. Not a purpose you and I need to create, but there's a purpose in what he did, and then a purpose in why he supplanted you in it. Now, some negative outcomes is triumphalism. You can think about crusades. Assuming God endorses all human actions or abuses of power, where it says subdue and rule, and we take that in a negative fashion and we abuse creation and others. And you're going to have to wait 2 weeks for that one, but we'll get there, all right? You're like, 2 weeks, I'm not coming back in 2 weeks. I got it, all right? 2 weeks. So again, when you think about nihilism or the Enuma Elish or the biblical creation, each of the whys leads to a what? I know you got bills to pay, unless you're a teenager. Or maybe you still got bills, I don't know, right? But your thought of why we're here already dictates how you live today. So here's the first principle that we see in Genesis chapter 1. I'll give it to you. Is that the intricacy of creation shows you how much you are loved. Now keep thinking again, who created and why. Go to verse 1. Meet me there. It says, in the beginning, what? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the New Testament writers, they say this in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. This is what theologians like to call ex nihilo. Out of nothing, God created everything. God did not take eternally pre-existing matter or substance and reshape or reconfigure it into the present world, but his creative activity is not like that of human artists, but he created out of nothing. And if you actually take a look at verse 1, that verb create is singular, indicating that God is thought of as one being who created it all. Go to verse 2. The initial description of the earth as being without form and void, it says, right? It's a phrase repeated within the Old Testament only in Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 23, but it implies this lack of order and content. I don't know if you've ever stopped to actually think, but if you think about a place that has no form and just void, it kind of creates an existential crisis in me. What does that even mean? What does that even look like? But that word, form and void, take a look here. You can find it. It's translated literally as desert and wasteland, but in Job chapter 6, verse 18, it describes this vastness and emptiness, right? It's caravans turns aside from their routes. They go off into the wasteland, same idea, and they perish. It's this word that describes that which is without substance or reality, something that is completely groundless. It's what Isaiah 29:21 talks about, groundless or empty conversation, that there was nothing there. But this is what I love, all right? And then we're going to get nerdy together. Look at me and say nerdy together. Let's go. Oh, you're with me. Nerdy together. I love that, man. Even pointing. Yes, let's go. Nerdy together. But what I love here is that even in the vast emptiness, take a look at verse 2. In the midst of the void and the desert and the wasteland, the space isn't doomed or without hope. Instead, it reads, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. It's this imagery. I want you to get it. And I hope it fills your heart with hope. In the midst of void and emptiness, it's as if the Bible is trying to instill hope within your heart to say that just like an eagle hovers over its young, which we see in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 11, that the Spirit of God is hovering over the emptiness and the void, keeping everything that needs to be in check. Out of nothing, God creates everything. Now, we're going to go through verses 3 to 24 like Sonic the Hedgehog, all right? We're just going to go, man. We're going to go fast. So if you have your Bible or your phone and you're going to follow along, it's going to help you. Verses 3 to 24. But again, we're going to get nerdy together. And some of you are like, cool. Some of you are like, no. But just humor me for a minute, and you'll see why all of this is important and why it leads back into the big idea. Take a look up here first, though. Let's get nerdy together. All right, here's the first one. Speech and creation pattern. I want you to recognize something. There's nothing in Genesis chapter 1 that is there by accident. Every single detail, as we go through verse 3 to 25, and then 2 weeks from now we'll go 26, chapter 2, every single detail, the diversity of color, the way God created the heavens and the earth, the moon and the stars, the placement of day and night, in its order, in its patterns, is intentional, but it's culminating. It's like this roller coaster that's hurling towards this place, and we'll get to that place. But I just need you to realize none of this is by accident. Take a look at these patterns. In Genesis, there's speech and creation patterns. Step 1. This is how it happens over and over again in Genesis. God speaks. You tracking? Creation happens. God evaluates. He says it's good. And then the time or the day is marked. All right? Here's the next pattern that we see. There's so many of them, but I thought you can't handle all the nerdiness, so I'm just going to give you 3, all right? The second one, there's numerical patterning. It's called the sacred sevens, all right? I didn't come up with that. Verse 1 in Hebrew has 7 words. Because 7 is a symbol in the Bible for completion or perfection. Verse 1 in Hebrew, 7 words. Verse 2 has 14. Getting clever on us, right? 2 times 7. The word God or Elohim, 35 times. 5 times 7. I'm trying to help you if you don't remember doing multiplication because it's been a long time. Earth, 21 times. 3 times 7. Heaven, sky, 21 times. 3 times 7. It was good appears a total of 7 times. There's pattern. There's intentionality, there's specificity in the way that the Genesis 1 text is laid out because it's hurling towards something. All right, there's language, there's rhythm. Here's the third one. Let's go to the next one. It goes from forming to filling. As we take a look at that, what I want you to see is that God creates first the form, and then he fills. As Carl would say, it's never too early for Christmas. Can I get an amen? All right. 257 days away. All right, 257 days away from Christmas. All right, as you think about Christmas, and as you take a look at this chart up here, this is what I want you to think about. How many of you love taking the time to decorate the tree? Come on. Ornaments. Putting candy canes on there, which feels sacrilegious, but whatever. Putting candy canes on there, right? Taking the time to decorate, the miniature stockings. There's memories attached. You love it. How many of you are like, if I could buy a finished tree out of the box, I would? Yeah, what are we doing, man? Just give me the thing, and I want to place it in my living room and just be done with it. I'll pray for you. But if you simply take a barren tree, let's say out of the box, and you take a look at it in your living room, imagine with me, wonder with me, there's a barren tree in your living room. There's something unsettling, something that looks so incomplete about it, right? None of you said you just want a barren tree. So you just said you want the work done for you. You want it decorated. And in many ways, that's what we see actually in the first few days of Genesis. Okay, track with me. Take a look here. Day 1 to 3 is like the tree is being formed. There's structure there. The shape is there. Everything is in proper place. Again, God made it, but it's still bare. And then day 4 to 6, the tree, the earth, begins to be filled. Now the lights come, which are the ornaments, comes the beauty, the purpose, there's pattern, formation, filling, structure, then splendor. It's not, this is what I want you to hear, it's not random, it's intentional. It's a God who doesn't just build, he beautifies what he builds. Why? We won't get to it today, but if you look at day 7, it says rest. He rested. You know, one of the things we'll talk about is if God is all-powerful, why did he have to rest? It seems odd. We'll get to that in 2 weeks. And note that there is no morning and evening on day 7. Why is that? We'll get to that in 2 weeks. All right, hedgehog time. You ready? Dude, we're going to go real fast. So I hope you can keep up with me. All right? Look at the person next to you and say, try to keep up with John. It's not going to happen. Good luck to you. All right. Intention. Are you ready? Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. A world prepared with intention where God creates order out of chaos. Take a look at verse 1-3. 1:3. God speaks light into existence, and clarity breaks into chaos. Chapter 1, verse 4. He separates light from darkness. Rhythms are established, not randomness. Chapter 1, verse 5. He names the day and night, and time itself is ordered under authority. The point, all of this is not accidental energy. This is the intentional structure that God is making. Take a look at chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. He stretches out the sky, he creating space where there was none. Verses 9, where he gathers the waters, so dry ground appears, forming stability and livability, where he's making room for life to flourish, he says. But look at this, verses 11 to 12. God's design for sustainability. He didn't actually just make plants that grow and then die, and then there's nothing. It reproduces. There's sustainability, sustainable elements that are embedded into the way that he made. Take a look at verse 11, 12. The earth brings forth vegetations, and plants yield seeds, and those trees bearing fruits. Life is built with continuity. It can reproduce, multiply, endure. Verse 11, creation operates with order and classification. What we call species and genus and family and order. The point, it's not random. It's structured. It's intelligent design. Take a look at verse 1, chapter 1, verse 13. At the end of day 3, something new appears, though. Catch it, okay? And I want you to hear this. As we deepen into the verses, just think about intentionality, order, and the why. Verse 13, at the end of day 3, something new appears. Color happens. I want you to think about this. Day 1 and 2, blues and blacks, light and darkness, sky and sea. Day 3, green. Color. Vibrant creativity. The canvas is expanding. Take a look at verse 14 to 18. The golden yellow of the sun will shine, adding warmth, life, and presence. God just didn't make a functional world. He made a beautiful one. Verse 14 to 18, the sun, moon, and stars are placed for seasons, days, years. Time becomes measurable, predictable, livable. Psalm 91 says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the works of his hands. Day 5, God fills the world with color and care. Verse 20, seas teem with living creatures, depth, movement, skies with birds, freedom, flight, beauty. Verse 22, for the first time, notice, God speaks to creation and he blesses creation, but it's not human beings. I actually didn't notice that until this time around. Look at verse 22. God blessed humans? No. He speaks to them. He says, God blessed them, the fowl, the birds, and said, be fruitful, increase the number, fill the earth, water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. Why? Because I suggest to you that God's saying he really cares about his creation. He blessed it. It's a world full of imagination, detail, and richness. When we put it all together, my friends, verse 24, animals of every kind that fill the earth, the livestock, the wild animals. Verse 24 again, according to their kind, diversity, distinction, intentional variation. The world that you see outside, let me see your eyes real quick. The world that you and I live in outside is not a rushed world, it's an intentional world. It's not just existence, but sustainability and beauty. Not just structure, but creativity. Here's a quote from a guy named John Walton. He's an Old Testament scholar. I got to learn from him. And when I say he's smart, oh man, he is smart, all right? He says, on day 1, God created the basis for time. On day 2, the basis for weather. Day 3, the basis for food. These 3 great functions, time, weather, and food, are the foundation of life, right? It's the bare Christmas tree. But if we desire to see the greatest work of the Creator, it is not to be found in the materials that he brought together. It is that he brought them together in such a way that they all work. Crazy. That day 1, through the days, and every formulation of the systems of life, including reproduction and multiplication and fermentation, all work together. They're not just raw materials that exist, but they work in harmony to sustain life. Go to verse 26. And if you've been with me at this point, I hope this really encourages the depth of your heart. Then in verse 26, then God said, I want you to know this. Every day before, he says, let the land, let the waters, let the skies. In verse 26, then God said, let us make mankind in our image. Just catch it for a minute. Before we go eat cake and then test the weight limits of the bounce house, all right, to see if you can bounce. Just everything from Genesis chapter 1 all the way, verse 1, all the way to verse 25, the intricacy and the specificity of creation is hurling towards verse 26, when then he says, let us make man and woman in our image. Hey, I want you to realize this, okay? If you have ever thought to yourself, am I worth it? Does my life matter? Am I only what I produce? Am I really lovable based on my past? Does anybody care about me? Genesis 1 to 25, is the declaration of the sky and the beauty and the depths of the sea and everything else in its life form that shouts to you, yes, you are. Look at what I made for you. Look at what I created for you. I could have just poured some concrete on the ground and called it the world. But I didn't. I want you to notice that the gift of creation precedes human function, meaning what you can produce, what you and I call work, parenting, and doing, all of this comes after, not before. Meaning you're not good enough to live here because you did something. You're good enough to live here because God says he loves you. The Christian story says it's not nihilism, it's not accidental, it's not without meaning, nor simply out of divine fight or subjugation, but to show you that a good God intentionally created a good world to show how much he loves you. You are not an accident, you are deeply loved. That's what Genesis 1 is saying. All right, let me just try it this way, okay? My kid turned 4 yesterday, and then I realized that I basically had 4 kids, all right? My 4-year-old, this church is 5, and then I got my other 5-year-old. Whoo, that took me a minute. And then I got an 8-year-old, right? So yesterday she turned 4, and she was like, I want a ice cream-themed party. And I thought to myself, I never had themes growing up, right? What are you talking about? You want an ice cream theme? So I'm up late on Canva, making stuff, attaching her face to like balloons, printing stuff out, right? We're making like a pin the cherry on the ice cream thing. We have like a fake pastel blue and white awning that we purchased, so it looks like an ice cream store. And then Tiff was like, my wife was like, John, we only have 5 presents. And I was like, what are you talking about, right? Are those for Christmas? What do you mean 5? Growing up, I don't think I had 5 presents. And I actually counted, and there was 8 presents. It's like, what? I mean, granted, most of them came from like her uncles and aunts, etc. And then we went to the pool, and then she had ice cream because she has to have ice cream. It's an ice cream themed party. And then she had Molly's cupcakes, and then she had, I don't know what, and then she wanted to go to Olive Garden, right? I'm like, yo, are you 4? What is wrong with you, right? And she's like, I'm so happy. And I'm like, well, my wallet is not, but okay, right? I'm glad you're happy. But all that we did for her, all the prepping that we did for her to make her 4th birthday special was why? To simply communicate that we love you and that we care about you. The details, the specificity, the intricacy, the time, devotion, it matters. It signals and communicates something. Because what I could have done for my daughter is put $5 in a shoebox and throw it into her room and be like, yo, there you go, happy birthday. But that communicates something as well. I'm not here, as I said in the beginning, to say that Genesis 1 about the how and the molecular biology and the dinosaurs. Look, those questions, you want to have that conversation? I love free food. Come on, take me up. I'd love to have that conversation with you. I'm talking simply this morning about the intent of who created and why did he create? Why did he create? Number one, creation shows you how much you are loved. So as you think about your bills and as you think about the fact that you didn't come here this morning for a creation debate, again, I just want you to consider that the question of why we're here, where all this come from, is already shaping the way that you live your life. It answers the question, shapes your question of how should I live? Does life matter? How should I live? Does life matter? Now, I had initially had principle number 2 and number 3 planned for today, but I realized that would take another probably about 40 minutes. So I'm going to save you from that, because I also know that our kids' teachers are like holding back the dam of, because they all want to get out there and play. But here's the second and the third principle that we're going to be walking through in 2 weeks, and I'll tell you why I say 2 weeks. Can we go to the next slide? So the first one is creation shows you how much you're loved. Number 2 is creation shows you that you are made in God's image. We're going to work through that. What does that actually mean? Why does your work matter? Why does your life matter beyond just being loved? Why does your daily things matter? Number 3 will be creation shows you that you're made to trust God. I stink at the next ones. Maybe you do too. Creation shows that you are made to trust God, enjoy others, and revel in life. You know what revel means? It's to go crazy, right? To just passionately enjoy it. So you're like, work, grades, work, money, grades, stress, money, retire, die. Genesis 1 is like, trust me. Enjoy other people. Revel in life. We started by saying, what does Genesis 1 have to say to us this morning about life and kids and bills? And I just want to encourage you, man. I just want to encourage your heart. The reason why Genesis 1 is in the scripture, it's not here by accident. It's here by intentionality. And I really believe it's here to show you that a good God created a good world to show you that how much he loves you. All right? We're going to walk through those things together. All right, so as I said earlier, it is 168's 5th birthday today. Can I get a whoop? All right, good enough. And what I want to do right now, before we sing a few more songs, is